So I just took the dog for a walk, and I felt this relief of getting off my chest about my last video, and then flooded in came more. That was like all the things that I missed in it. So I'm just going to recap some of this. I think, actually, I know that one of the most important things to take away from all of this is to understand the energetics, the higher perspective of actually what's going on. I know that I see a lot of people that talk about external influences, entities, things like that. And I think it's just important to note that nobody can be affected by anything unless they are a vibrational match to it. So nothing can be done to you. Nothing can be influenced to you, through you, that you don't already have within you. And that's kind of a thing that a lot of people don't want to hear. It scares them to think that there's something within them that is attracting certain energies to them. But I don't look at it like they're attracting it to them because they're bad people. I think everything that we attract is something that we can take note, and it shows us what is within us that we can change within ourselves. So instead of looking at it from a victim mentality, I like to look at it from an empowerment mentality. So, for example, I've had moments where I have had things happen in the middle of the night, or I've had like certain people that are in the in-between realms that have come to me. And, you know, some of them aren't very happy. There's many reasons. And a lot of times I was like, why am I getting this? Like, why am I getting this frequency? Like, why am I getting this? That part, I was thinking that showed me that I thought I was above all that I don't deal with that. Right. And now that happens more often than not. And now I look at it as if it would be like somebody coming to me on the street that is going through some hardship and is actively seeking me out because they're angry about something and they need to get something off their chest. And if I was to look at them and be like, that is so beneath me, I only deal with love and light. Like, I don't think so. Right? I have like some pretty harsh reality checks. And it's not that like I'll have these moments where I'm like, why do I think that? Or like, why? That's kind of cruel. Like, why? Like, where's that coming from? Right. So my intuition or my soul is very honest because I'm open to that. I'm open for that. Right. Really honest with me about things. Right. So I look at it the same way in the spirit world. If somebody is actively coming to me and they have a situation, I mean, they're in the in-between world. Like they don't want to be there, or they're confused. Like they don't understand like where they're at, why people can't see them, like why they're, like there's so much there. So if they're actively searching me out, that means that they're ready to hear something. They're ready for some sort of resolution, right? And so I'll coach them through, or I'll tell them why they are where they're at, and so forth, and like what they can do to basically, I don't even want to say redeem themselves, but like basically to balance everything within themselves so that they can just move on, right? So they can fully cross over. So in that sense, it's like everything's kind of like a mirror in self-reflection. That's how I look at it. Everything we attract is a mirror of reflecting something back to us, right? And I don't look at it from a negative lens. I have, but if you do look at it from a negative lens, it means you're judging it and you're judging yourself. And that's okay to have when you're aware of it and you notice it. But at that moment, you can make a split choice to be like, I don't want to judge myself. Like it's okay. It's okay. I'm learning. Like I'm realizing things about myself. It might not feel so pretty at first, but it's okay because this is empowering that I am aware of this now and I don't choose this. I don't want this part of my reality anymore. I want something different, right? So there's that part. As far as going with living in a certain house. So let me give this scenario. So say some people move into a house and it's a family, and over time they start to experience some things in the house, and especially the kids first. Kids are sensitive. So if a family moves into a house where there is some leftover residual energy, however light or dense it is, the kids are the first to pick up on it. The kids are a porous sponge. Adults, however, especially ones that don't believe or have the blocks up, they're not going to notice things. Things have to get pretty extreme for them to notice. That's why if you've ever noticed in movies when like a lot of time the kids aren't believed and then things have to get really, really drastic and in the parents' face for them to finally click, because that is how strong their denial is. That is how strong their blocks are, right? So, but in some cases, I do know that sometimes the families are meant to move into these homes and eventually they seek out resources like clairvoyance or people who can come and help clear the energies or even understand what's going on energetically with the dynamics in the house. And maybe sometimes this person in the in-between world on the other side is summoning meaning manifesting a family to come in the home or somebody to come in that can help them. Right? So there's so many different dynamics and everything is case by case. And no two spirits or people in the in-between world have the same dynamics. It'd be no different. You can't categorize all of those in-between souls as the same. That would be like saying us as humans are all the same because they are the other side of human form. They were human too. So how would they be the same, right? So each one has their own troubles, traumas, situations, unresolved issues that prevent them from fully crossing over, right? As I've been diving more into the shadow world over the last while, or actually I've been pulled into it, I've really started to understand the darker dynamics, the darker energetics. When people experience the spirit world or the in-between world and it's not as pleasant. Yes, there is external influence. There is influence. But it's only as influential if you haven't resolved your own shadows. So the darker your own shadows, and I do not mean this in like a negative or a positive light, I'm just meaning the deeper your shadows, the deeper your unresolved shadows are, the more you're going to align with external things that have the same frequency. If that makes any sense? Because like attracts like. And it's no different than in your awake world. I mean, if a person wakes up in the morning and they're completely miserable and they're in victim mentality and the people they're going to attract in their life are going to be the same. They're going to be around the same. Like attracts like, right? So it would be no different in the astral realm as well, right? And the only way through that is to look at it like a reflective mirror. To learn from it, to see what is going on, to understand why you're attracting that. And the number one thing is it's going to show you through your fears. And it's taking note of your fears. So anything that comes through that way is rubbing up against something that's already within you. And it's saying, take a look at this, right? And sometimes, and I have noticed this through some people, that when you have your own fears, sometimes somebody might come through and want to communicate with you. And because there is so much instilled fear, it is perceived through that lens of fear that whatever is communicating with them is a negative energy, or they see the intentions as negative, when in fact, it's not. So what's happening is that energy is coming up to be seen by that person, and it's rubbing up against all of the blocks, all of the fears, everything that person has within them. But that energy is actually not doing anything. It's not even trying. It's just appearing. And it's bringing up everything that's within the psyche and the subconscious that says, I'm not safe. But that's a way to go internal and to look at our fears. Because I'll tell you, when you look at the fears and you feel through the fears and you work with that and be curious about it, afterwards, you'll be able to experience the spirit in between energetic world from a very generalized state, from a very you won't have those fears, so you'll be able to see it for what it is, right? So I think it's even taking a look at that and asking yourself, are these fears, is this fear, is this something that is a bad thing, or is this just bringing up my fear? And the only way that you will ever know is if you deal with the fear first, right? And if it is something that is it doesn't have the greatest intentions or wants to scare you or those things, once you deal with the fear anyway, they can't touch you. They can't touch you. You might see the dialogue, you'd be able to look at them and be like, peace out, dude. It no longer holds any power over you because you've gone through your fear, you've done the inner work, and you've claimed your power back, right? It's no different than being in a relationship in the earthly world. And you're fearful of somebody, so that means that you're giving them the power to create more fear on you. But then when you finally deal with your fears, you're like, and then you stand up for yourself and you're like, no, this ain't happening. What happens? You've just set an intention and an energetic boundary that you no longer allow that in your life. And so, see you later. So everything that happens kind of in the spirit world is the same as the human world, but it just enhances it more because the fear of the unknown and not seeing something, sensing something and not being able to see something actually digs up and brings up deeper fears, right? So I think that's the main thing to take away from that within the in-between realms, and the inner work of all of that. The other thing I did want to state is if you did watch the video beforehand, energy clearing. Should we go there with that? Energy clearing. I did talk about this with the sage and stuff like that, but like I said, if you deal with the inner world, you won't need the external things to clear things. You can set intentions, you can speak your voice. You're literally telling yourself, I am powerful enough that things don't affect me. And you can say that all you want if you have all these fears running and worries and all these things running within you. But if that is louder than your belief that you have your own control and power, your fears are going to run. Whatever has the most dominant emotion, whether it's security, support, confidence, versus fear, worry, doubt, whichever you feel the most of, that's what you're running on. And no amount of words or affirmations is going to change that. You got to look at the feeling, why it's there, and feel it. Right? A lot of times, like especially with having to do with the spirit world or the energetics of like someone dying and being on the other side and communicating, a lot of those blocks, like some of that is from this lifetime, but I'm going to tell you it comes from other lifetimes. And it's ancestral sometimes, it's generational. And, but I will tell you how absolutely beautiful it is when you can be objective and not have any fears or worries, and you're in a neutral state and you sense something coming in, right? And I've been doing this for a while now, and nothing usually surprises me. But I will say yesterday at 3:00 in the morning, when I sensed that mother energy, Ed's mother energy come in, that brought up fears in me. And I was like, and then after I looked at that, and I was actually grateful because she was pushing up, her energy was pushing up fears inside me that said, it scared me because I thought that her energy would be able to influence me. I was scared of her energy because of her power that she had over him. And then I realized that moving through that fear and allowing her to come through, that it was an illusion. Because I realized that my power, like when I moved through that fear, I felt her softness. Right? Because I was holding on to the old idea of her. And that there's obviously something about her on the spirit side that she's learned and resolved through, that there's something softer about her. Right? And I felt that after I moved through the fear. So it's kind of like an example, I guess you could say. And then the other thing that I was shown when I went for my walk, when I said about energy, and things will happen in a certain place unless energies are resolved. And sometimes that happens through, yes, people will sage, but when there's really thick trauma, like really horrendous kind of energy, and horrendous, I don't even mean like in evil terms. I'm trying to like create the magnitude of the buildup of energy and the type of energy that is being held in a place because of that's where it's happened. Sometimes fire. Sometimes a fire will exist and things like that. And that kind of carries me into stuff that's happening around the world, like with earthquakes, fires, floods, things like that. They're all energy clearings. And a lot of it has to do from ancestral imprint from the residential schools, places where there was thick with all of that energy going on. So flooding, fires happening, they're all energetic clearings. It's like the earth doing her clearing of all of that, right? And it's interesting because before it was like the earth would actually intuitively come through people, and that's why they would do controlled fires, because that would actually help with the safety of the people in the communities. And then that kind of stopped, and now she's just doing her own clearing. Now she's just clearing, right? And it's important to note to work with the land and to be more in tune with it, because it's like then you're in more commune, and it's like nothing, like there's no harm in that sense, right? Instead of being a blind eye and someone staying in their house and being like, I'm untouchable, right? Like, I don't know where that came from. That's just, maybe somebody was thinking that. I don't know. That was just random that came out. So when I was sharing in my last video, the energetics of the Ed Gein story, the house burnt. And as I was going for a walk, it was like, you didn't say that part. And I was like, okay, well, we'll do another one. So the house burnt. And that was for how much built up of that kind of energy that was in the house. That was the appropriate method to take to clear that energy, and it needed to be cleared. And it was however it was, whoever lit it, whoever burnt it down, it needed to be done to clear all of that energy and to create and it's interesting because even in the movie when they showed the fire, it was like the energy I felt was like a because every time you looked at that house, you could feel all of that, right? As the camera shakes. So yeah. And then the other recap was the lighting. And as I was going for a walk, it was like her saying, I was flickering the lights for you to get on with the story because you spent so much time talking about him and it was supposed to be about me. Which I did get to it, right? But I felt this impatientness to get to her part of the story. But I wanted to explain the energetics first, right? So it wasn't just about her. And that's another thing too, is getting to a place where even when people on the other side are communicating with me, like, yes, I can feel their restlessness. Yes, sometimes I can be no different than a person in my real, like right now beside me, being like, you got to share this story right now. You got to talk about this. And then me, I'm like, I know what I want to talk about. I know when I'm going to talk about it, and I'll get to that point, right? And so I don't allow anything to have any external influence. I can see what's happening. I can feel, I can hear what they're talking about, what they're like trying to get me to like hurry up about something, but I still get to decide. I still get to choose, right? But I have the sovereign awareness of that because I'm so secure in my own that I know what's mine and I know it's not mine, right? So I'm very, very aware of that. And that's a place that we all absolutely, like, that is like a superhuman gift that we are all absolutely capable of embodying, right? Anywho, I think that was everything. The other thing that I had was, I know I had two different narratives I was flipping between in the story in that TV series. If it was just the imprint of the energy in that house, or if his mother actually was influencing from the other side as well. And I did have that thought, but what stands more clear and stronger was the energetic residue of that house, because once he was out, it stopped. His mom didn't follow him. To a lot of times when somebody on the other side is so persistent in somebody else's energy, they'll follow them no matter where they go, because spirit can move. But this case, when he was institutionalized, everything stopped or subsided to stop. And because he wasn't in that house. So that what that tells me is that it wasn't his mother's influence from the other side. It was just the energetics that of everything that happened that was imprinted in the land, in the crystalline grid, that was just amplifying everything. And because she was no longer there physically, she wasn't there to stop him from letting his mind go, like from letting him get completely engulfed in it, right? Once she was gone, it's like the floodgates opened for him to be immersed in this energy and to carry him wherever it was going to carry him, with no boundaries, right? To the point where there was no difference between reality and reality and fantasy, right? And one of the other things that I want to share in there is there was a lot of extra scenes in that show that really didn't take place physically. But what I was getting from that was those were in his mind. So just because those shows, those extra scenes were put in that didn't happen, how do we not know that that didn't happen in his mind and maybe didn't happen physically? Because there were some scenes where something played out one way, and then all of a sudden later on we found out that it didn't play out that way. Because it was showing reality and fantasy, and then they were trying to portray it to the point where there was no more reality. He was just completely in fantasy. It was blurred. They were trying to show the extremities of it. So I don't think it necessarily was that they were adding more things in and making him do things. Because in the beginning, I'm like, why would somebody add so much more in that didn't actually happen? And then later on, I realized that they were trying to show the extremities of how far gone he was from reality, that he didn't even know the difference between reality and fantasy anymore either. And that was trying to be portrayed through the show with adding in all these other things. How do we know they weren't real? Maybe they weren't physically real, but this movie was trying to be shown from his perspective, from his psyche, from his point of view. So just some food for thought with that. Because I know I came across some people who were like kind of not impressed with the fact that they added so much stuff in there, but I think it's missing the point. And everyone's going to see it from the awareness of where they're seeing it from. So that was just a perspective that I was being shown in that it's not literal. Like, take the show, like, watch it. If you haven't watched it, sit back and don't take everything so literal. Be open to seeing the gray in between the black and white in that. Because not everything that's being portrayed is, black and white. So that's what I've got for that. And if there's anything else, well, I'll just create another video.